Here we are, it is now the very end of February, and as we go throughout the first quarter of 2020, a lot of fans have been very curious about what's going on with Star Wars by Disney and Lucasfilm when it comes to their new Star Wars universe, as well as their new Star Wars trilogy, and everything that happened behind the scenes for Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you are new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, one thing about Episode 9 is that this movie was a very difficult film for Disney and Lucasfilm to work on. It was a very tough production, to say the least, mainly because of Kathleen Kennedy and the reshoots and the rewrites that took place twice in late 2018 and in mid-2019, where there were two initial cuts of the movie before the final cut of Episode 9. Now, obviously a lot of fans have had different opinions, different reactions and feelings about this film and how the Skywalker saga came to an official end. And not just that, a lot of people have been wondering about what could have been by Disney and Lucasfilm before the reshoots and the rewrites by, of course, J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio, because of Kathleen Kennedy wanting a major shift in how this movie would be marketed, how the movie would approach the common moviegoer, or the general audience, if you will, in order to create new Star Wars fans, in order to have them pretty much propelled into the new Star Wars universe as well. Now, on top of all of this, what's really intriguing is that now that Disney and Lucasfilm are finished with the Skywalker saga, they are focused on their new Star Wars trilogy and their new Star Wars universe. Many fans have been very worried about how Disney will handle the future of Star Wars and what that will look like throughout this decade, now that Kathleen Kennedy has actually lost creative control, and Disney is getting a new CEO. However, during production for The Rise of Skywalker, George Lucas had a different vision for the ending of the film, back when he was working on the movie with J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio, before Kathleen Kennedy made massive changes, where it's noted that at one point in time, before Disney decided to use the marketing approach that this would be the end of the saga, it's actually explained that George Lucas wanted to continue the Skywalker saga and keep it open-ended at the very end of the movie, and that George had two different endings of the film. One of which was partially filmed, the other was, of course, only written in the early draft of Episode 9's script, when J.J. Abrams first started work on the movie. Now, it's explained that George Lucas wanted Ben Solo to live and even shoot a sequence in which Ben Solo survived the Battle of Exegol and would travel with Rey to the world of Tatooine, where there would actually be looking at a silhouette of a Jedi temple. This was actually set to be an epilogue that would take place some months after Palpatine's death. In one of the early drafts, however, for Episode 9, George had also worked on an ending with JJ for Ben Solo to stay alive and head to the world of Ahch-To, where he and Rey would reunite with Luke's Force Ghost and others before the credits would roll. However, that was never filmed and put to the wayside early on in production and was only written in the script of the early drafts. So, the thing about Episode 9 is that there were a lot of great ideas that George had. Now, of course, the scene that was partially filmed before it was canceled by Kathleen Kennedy involved Ben Solo surviving the Battle of Exegol and everything related to, of course, Palpatine's death and everything related to it in that sense, where George had a vision to create an epilogue where both Ben and Rey would live happily ever after, essentially, and creating a new Jedi Order on the world of Tatooine. Now, this is going to take place some months after the events of the battle over Exegol, and was going to give us a little bit of a glimpse into the new Jedi Order, showing us a silhouette of the Jedi Temple on the world of Tatooine. Now, to me, I think that this would have been a far better idea than what we got at the very end of The Rise of Skywalker. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but there's a great big similarity between the very ending of The Last Jedi and, of course, The Rise of Skywalker. In The Last Jedi, though it's not the final frame, it's very similar. You have Luke Skywalker looking at a binary sunset. At the very end of Episode 9, you have J.J. Abrams, introducing Rey looking at a binary sunset. So, both The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker have somewhat similar endings, in a sense. Almost. I know it's not the final frames in Episode 8 for Luke looking at that sunset, but it was pretty much either a piece of, I guess you could say, foreshadowing of what's to come for the ending of Episode 9, and J.J. Abrams used that, or JJ used that as a way to retell his version of the ending. Now, when you look at everything related to George and what he wanted to do, even on paper, in the early drafts of having Ben Solo survive and heading to the world of Ahch-To with Rey and meeting up with the Force ghosts of Luke and others, that to me I think would have been amazing, but I guess they scrapped that because we already had pretty much an ending on Ahch-To in The Last Jedi, so I guess, you know, they came to the realization that maybe they wanted to end it on a more nostalgic note on the world of Tatooine. You can see how it all evolved slowly, step by step. So anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know if you think about all of this in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.